Hey, so if you've ever written a formula in Excel, and I mean any formula, you are way closer than you think to building your very own app. Today, we're going to dive into how those exact spreadsheet skills you already have are the key to creating some really cool interactive applications using PowerApps formulas.
Think about it like this. In Excel, a formula calculates a value, right? Pretty straightforward. But in PowerApps, formulas do that and then they react. They actually respond to what a user does, turning what would be a static sheet of data into a living, breathing application. And that shift, that's everything. So here's our game plan. We're going to start by kind of evolving that spreadsheet mindset and getting to know the formula bar. Then we'll get right into it. We'll display some data, make our app interactive, and even use formulas to control the design and the entire behavior of the app. First up, let's talk about moving beyond the spreadsheet. This is not about throwing away what you know, not at all. It's about building on it, taking all that logic you've perfected and just applying it in a much, much more dynamic way. And this quote really hits the nail on the head. The big difference is right here. It's not just about a calculation sitting in a cell. It's about responding to what the user's doing. When someone taps a button or moves a slider, a formula can kick off an action. That's really the heart of what makes an app, well, an app. Okay, so where does all this magic happen? Right here. Meet the PowerFX formula bar. If you're comfortable in Excel, this is going to look super familiar, but trust me, it's been seriously supercharged for building applications. This is your new command center. And it really just breaks down into three simple parts. First, you've got the property list. This is where you pick what you want to change about something. Is it the text, the color, the size? Then you write the actual formula that controls that property. And finally, you can always see which control you're working on. It's simple, it's clean, and it's incredibly powerful. All right, enough theory. Let's actually get our hands dirty. It's time for that classic first step in any new playground. Just making something appear on the screen. Our hello world moment. So, to display some text, it's as easy as this. You grab a label, you find its text property in that drop-down list, and you just type your text into the formula bar inside double quotes. And boom, Hello World pops up right in your app. Okay, what about a calculation? Let's use a function I know you've seen before, sum. By setting that same text property to sum 3012, the label doesn't show you the formula. No, it shows you the result, 42. It's doing the math for you and displaying the answer, just like a cell in Excel. Now pay close attention here, because this is a really important little difference. In Excel, you always have to start a formula with an equal sign. In PowerApps, you don't. The formula bar just assumes that whatever you're typing is a formula, so you can just drop that equal sign and get straight to the good stuff. Okay, so we've put some static stuff on the screen. Now for the really fun part. Let's make our app come alive by creating values that actually change based on what the user does. So imagine you've got two boxes where a user can type in numbers. You want to add them up. Now, this formula looks right, doesn't it? Text input 1.text plus text input 2.text. But here's a super important tip, a little gotcha to watch out for. Because we're adding the .text property, PowerApps thinks you just want to stick two pieces of text together. So if you type 10 and 5, you'll see 10, 5, not 15. To actually do the math, you have to wrap each one in the value function. So it becomes value of text input 1.text plus value of text input 2.text. That one little change makes your calculator work perfectly. So now our calculator is adding correctly. Awesome. But we can push this even further. What if the result is a negative number? How could we get the app to sort of react to that, to change how it looks based on its own data? Well, we can use another old friend from Excel, the if function. But look closely. We're not changing the text property anymore. This time, we're targeting the color property. The formula just checks. Is the value in that label less than 0? If it is, make the color red. If not, just keep it black. This is so cool because it shows that formulas can control pretty much anything. Text, color, visibility, you name it. And the logic here is exactly what you'd think. The if function is your absolute go-to for making decisions in your app. It's that classic, if this is true, do that, otherwise do this other thing. It's really the building block for making your apps feel smart. We just used a formula to change a color automatically. Let's take that a giant step further and actually give the user direct control over how the app looks. It's time to start painting with formulas. So the setup here is super quick. We're just going to add 3 slider controls to our screen, one for red, one for green, and one for blue. Then we just set the max value for each slider to 255, which is the top of the scale for digital colors. And now for the magic formula. We're going to select the entire screen and set its fill property, its background color, to this. The RGBA function builds a color for us. For the red part, it just grabs the value from our first slider. For green, it takes the value from the second, and for blue, the third. That one at the end just means the color is fully solid, not transparent. And here's the amazing part. Every single time a user touches one of those sliders, PowerApps instantly recalculates that formula and updates the background color in real time. It's not a click to apply kind of thing. It's this live, immediate connection between what the user does and what they see. So cool. So, we've used formulas to calculate values and to change how things look. It's time for the final piece of the puzzle, using formulas to actually perform actions. This is what turns your app from a cool display into a truly functional tool.
See, behavior formulas are a different beast. They don't spit out a value, they do something. You'll find them in properties like a button's onSelect, which basically means when someone clicks this button, run this code. They can do things like navigate to a new screen, save data, or even string together a whole bunch of actions using a semicolon. And here is the simplest but maybe the most powerful example. You add a button, you find its onSelect property, and you type navigate screen 2. And just like that, when a user clicks that button, the app jumps to screen 2. You just programmed navigation with one simple line. That's amazing. So let's just recap the 3 amazing powers we've unlocked, right? First, formulas can define a static value just to display data. Second, they can dynamically control a property to change how your app looks and feels. And third, they can control behavior to make your app actually perform actions. So with just these 3 ideas, you can build some unbelievably powerful stuff. You've basically learned how to make your apps see data, react to that data, and then act on what your users want them to do. The only real question left is, what are you going to build first?